And so what I chose to do, the decision that I made, was to approach two individuals in my network that I highly respected, and I asked them to invest in my professional development. I didn't say, "Hey, I need money. Hey, I want to go to this thing." I approached them as if I were the president of Virginia Union University, because at that time I had an aspiration of becoming president of my alma mater. And I said, "Well, what would the president of a university do if they wanted to complete a particular project or accomplish a particular goal?" They'll pick up the phone and reach out to people in their network and make an ask. And there's really only two things that a person can tell you if you ask them for something. It's either yes or no. So I have a 50-50 chance of getting a yes. I have a 100% chance of getting a no if I don't ask. And so what I did was I reached out to these two gentlemen. I told them what I was striving to do. I asked them if they would be willing to make an investment in my professional development, and they did.
Join me, Jeremy Swick, on Into the Unknown, a podcast that delves into the personal journeys, stories, and experiences of individuals across diverse professions. As a historian by trade, I firmly believe that our personal histories shape our present and offer valuable insights into our paths ahead. With that being said, let's get into it. On this episode of Into the Unknown, I am joined with a very special guest, Robert, Coach YB Youngblood. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing phenomenal, but Jeremy, how about yourself, brother?
I can't complain, man. I've been staying active.
Yeah, that's what's up. Active, not busy.
Exactly. And I think words are important, man. We were talking just a little bit before the show. I had mentioned that I was busy. And while
Mhm.
you knew what I was saying, I think at the same time, as you mentioned, a lot of people say they're busy, but not a lot of people are being active and, progressing in whatever their goals are.
Yeah, it's either you're progressive or pro or being productive or you're not, right? A lot of people say that they're busy, it gives the impression like they're doing things, but if I take my fingers and I twist them like this, that's busy, but it's not accomplishing anything. So, words are definitely powerful and they have meaning, and we have to be mindful of the words that we say because it's not about what other people hear, it's what we hear. And so, yeah, there's a difference between being active and busy or productive.
I couldn't agree more, man. So I always like to kick out the show and talk about the importance of networking. How do we know each other?
Yeah, we were in a common community. I see you still rock the ET hat, man. We were affiliated through Breathe University, which was an awesome community founded by Eric Thomas and his team. And we had a chance to connect and build and grow. And I was a past guest on your show, and so we said, let's run it back, man. Let's catch up and see what's going on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's great. And, things like that. I think finding a community is so important. And I think a lot of people understand if you played sports or you're in some kind of organized thing growing up. But I realized post high school, post college, a lot of times you don't really collaborate or connect with people outside of who you generally directly work with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been out of high school almost 30 years, and there were guys that I didn't even connect with while I was in high school, but it's those relationships are starting to build and blossom. I was able to connect with a guy that I had known for 30 plus years. We went to the same middle school, went to the same high school. He's a year before me. We ended up getting connected through a corporate community, and as a result of the relationship and being able to leverage LinkedIn, I was able to reconnect with him. My family and I, we traveled to Houston, Texas, to be with him and his family. He graciously opened up his doors and allowed us to stay for a few days, and all of that because we had a common connection and we made a decision to collaborate and connect. So, you never know. You might meet somebody in maybe years that you really get to know each other, and then opportunities open up for you to build and have a friendship.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think decision is such a key word you mentioned there. You chose to kind of continue the relationship and actually reconnect in that sense. But I think it's so important to make decisive decisions when you're faced with anything, really.
Oh, no question. And the word there would be intentional, right? So be intentional about it. It's not an accident. There's a purpose for everything that we do, or should be a purpose for everything that we do. And it's important to be intentional. It's important to be transparent. It's important to be honest and open, and letting people know what is it that you're looking to accomplish. And if they're on the same page, then you can easily work together. I think it's the challenge is when people operate in a spirit of deception. They may wear one face or one hat, but they really want to do another thing. And instead of just being open and honest and transparent, they hide that until there's an opportunity for them to get what they want, and then they don't allow the other person to get what they want. So that's not the spirit of mutualism or collaboration.
I couldn't agree more. So I want to know,
Mhm.
man, that comic book issue number one, that origin story. Who are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I am a native of the Bronx, New York. I grew up in a single parent home. My father was actually murdered when I was two. I share that not to gain any sympathy from people when I tell them that, but just to let them know that I'm a real person. And growing up in the Bronx was an amazing experience because it allowed for me to go through life situations that have helped me to this day. It helped me to keep my head on the swivel. It helped me to understand that not everybody that smiles in your face is a friend. Right, so we have to be careful. We have to be cautious. But growing up in the Bronx also made me streetwise and recognizing that I've always got to keep my eyes open and also be active. Be active, have energy, have ambition. I was the type of person that when I was growing up, I never wanted to stay on my block. I always wanted to go off my block. I always wanted to travel to 161st Street, where the Yankee Stadium was at, or into Manhattan, or traveling to Brooklyn. And I had liberty because I was an only child. My mom used to work overtime, double time, triple time, just to put food on the table and a roof over our head, but I had a lot of liberty, and so I was able to be able to make moves in a way that a lot of my friends either wouldn't or decided not to. And so that's who I am. I'm a connector. I'm a promoter. I love people. I love to collaborate. And in many circles, I'm known as the LinkedIn locksmith because of the way that I'm able to unlock the power of LinkedIn for the people that are looking for employment, business, or other resources.
I mean, you mentioned that, of course, that high school was quite a while ago. Between
Mhm.
that and becoming the LinkedIn locksmith, what set you
Mhm.
on that trajectory?
Yeah, I would say that the experience for me was when I graduated from high school and I was supposed to do a summer internship, and the organization that I worked with the previous year decided not to renew my opportunity because I received a full scholarship to Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia. And so, as a result of receiving that scholarship, I was starting school earlier, and the program that I was a part of for the summer was going to end after me going to school, so they didn't want to give me any leeway. So I ended up not getting that job, which forced me to find a position. And in New York, when you're in between jobs, one of the first things that you're taught to do is to go to a temp agency. And so that's what I did, and I was able to get a temporary job. I was a foot messenger. I was traveling through Manhattan delivering packages, Brooklyn delivering packages. And one day I stumbled upon an opportunity to deliver a package to the headquarters for Def Jam, and Def Jam being top music label, record label, and as a result of that, my life changed because I was able to attract a relationship with the national director of marketing, and he opened the door for me to have an internship. It was a 3-week internship, and as a result, I was on the street team. I was interacting with artists. I was going to events, and that showed me that I had the ability to promote, the ability to connect. So when I got to college, I did the same thing. Unfortunately, I didn't choose a major that was connected to that. I was thinking about money. I wasn't thinking about purpose. And so I started out as an accounting major on paper, changed to mathematics, and then just throughout my years was just taking different majors, just doing whatever I could to just get out of school. But my gift was my ability to connect and promote. And so that then led to opportunities when I graduated to get started in my own business. And then in 2012, I was laid off from a nonprofit position, and that led to me launching another company, which is called YB Connects, my current firm, where I focus on connecting individuals and organizations to their ideal prospects. And that's when I started leveraging LinkedIn as a tool for helping people first find employment, and now focusing on teaching people how to use it as a business development and a public relations tool so they can generate more income, influence, and impact.
When you got started on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
I assume that wasn't profitable right away. How did you kind of start getting your footing? Because I think so many times people have business ideas or they see a maybe a blind spot in connecting
Hmm.
people.
Yeah, actually, it was profitable right away because I didn't have any really expenses, right? I just, I mean, I was on LinkedIn. I wasn't at the time using a premium, so I wasn't paying for anything. It was free. I had a young lady that knew me from college. She knew that I was active on LinkedIn. She reached out. She said, "Hey, can you show me how to use LinkedIn to get my next job?" I said, "Absolutely." I gave her my price. She hits me back and she says, "Hey, can my boyfriend come along too?" I said, "Sure," which doubled the price. And then when we met, she wrote me a check, and that first check was like $100, which means I made $100 an hour. Now, coming from where I'm from, Bronx, New York, I never made more than $25 an hour. So to be able to make $100 just to show somebody how to use a social media platform was phenomenal. That then led to an opportunity to get into speaking. I was already a speaker, but I was now able to speak and train professionals on how to use LinkedIn, and so that led to a four-figure opportunity. And so yeah, in the beginning, it was pretty profitable because I didn't have a whole bunch of expenses. Now, as I started getting up, and building it full time, and now it's like, okay, I got to pay my bills at home. Now it's like you got to worry about being more consistent and finding more streams of income. And that's what led to me becoming an author. That's what led to me doing more speaking, more training. What I would say in the beginning, when you lead with your gift, and you understand the power of leveraging that gift to make an impact, then that's profitability. It may not be profitability in terms of income and expenses, but it is profitable because people see you as a resource. They see you as a value add, and that's what I always lead with. I always lead with finding ways to add value. And I feel like if I can add enough value and help enough people get what they want, it'll open up doors for me to help get what I need.
Webby, I think it's so important that you mentioned adding value. I think that creates the mutualism in collaboration, creating those
Hmm.
relationships that it's not like what can I get from you? It's like how can I help you? How can we work together? How
Hmm.
how can I solve a problem or an issue you might have?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it is about what we can get. I think people need to be honest, right? We need to be honest. Everybody has a need. Everybody has a gap. Right? Now, I'm not saying that we lead with that just to get what we want and that's it. But I think when you're in a collaborative state, when you're starting a connection and you want to collaborate with somebody, it's very important to tell people what it is that you want. That's something that I wasn't doing initially, and I was very frustrated because I would do a lot of helping, but then I would look back and I wouldn't see anything happen for me, right? So I learned even from E was the importance of being direct, right? I am a recovering people pleaser. And so I had to learn that, well, yes, I want to help people. Yes, I want to put people in a position to win. But if I don't put my interests out there, then I'm going to be empty because I'm going to continue to give. One of the things that ESCJ used to always talk about is that takers know no boundaries, right? So if people just want to take, and I love to give, when I turn around and it's something that I need, nobody's there. So I have to be willing to put the mask on myself first. Like when you're flying on an airplane, right? You got to put the oxygen mask on first. So if somebody approaches me and say, "Hey, man, we need to collaborate," I say, "Hey, great, I love to collaborate. This is what I'm looking to do." Versus, yeah, let's collaborate, do what they want, and then they get what they need, and then I turn around and I don't have anything. So I had to learn to be direct and demanding when engaging people that use the term collaboration. Now, when I approach someone, I'm very transparent. I'm direct. I say, listen, I'd love to collaborate with you. This is what I'm thinking. Tell me what is it that you need, and how can we meet in the middle? That way, people know what my heart is. They know what my head is. They know what my intentions are, and it starts to work from the beginning.
YB, I appreciate that because I think the transparency is key in articulating what you actually need. I think sometimes either we do it consciously or not, as also somewhat of a recovering people pleaser. Sometimes
Mhm.
you don't mention what you actually are looking for, and then maybe you feel burned or you feel like you didn't get your end of the bargain, but you never really mentioned what you were talking about. So
Right.
I think that
Right.
is important to be transparent in that, and I think there's an art to it as well.
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely a skill. Being able to communicate and being emotionally connected and aware, right? Having that emotional intelligence to be able to voice how you feel, not in a way that's overly emotional, but to lead with your heart and let folks know how you feel, but be clear about what it is that you're looking to accomplish and not make it be just all about you. I've received people that reach out. I receive messages from people who reach out all the time, and I can tell when it's all about them because their message is riddled with I. Not once do you get to a point where you talk about what I want or even ask what I want. All right. And so if it's all about you, then it's not going to be mutualism. But if you position it to let folks know, okay, this is what I see us being able to do together. This is where you'll win. This is where I win. This is where we win. And if it makes sense, we move forward. If it doesn't make sense or the timing is not right, then we don't move forward, and that's okay because the timing is everything. What may not have been good to move forward with 4 years ago may be ready to move forward with now. But it's just all about timing and having the right mix and making sure that it's something that is that is timely, but it's also synergistic because if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense.
So you know, YB, on everyone's path, you make a decision not really knowing the outcome. You can go east, you can go west. You make a decision
Hmm.
and go for it. Can you give me a time you did that?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was going through a mental health crisis and I was about to take my life. It was actually about 10 years ago that this happened in 2015. And I was looking for motivation and I found ET on YouTube. I didn't even know the brother existed. I heard the Succeed as Bad as You Want to Breathe talk. Everybody was sending it to people through email, but I didn't know who the actual speaker was until I started going on Google and going on YouTube and looking for motivation, and eventually I was able to discover and the movement that they had. And the decision that I made was to pursue him. Right, I pursued him. I remember there was a conference that was taking place in St. Louis, Missouri. It was the Average Skill Phenomenal Will Conference, and that was the first one in 2016. And I really wanted to go, but financially, I was just in a place where it would have been tough for me to attend in terms of traveling. Now, I was able to finagle and get the tickets and go online and PayPal credit all this good stuff, but I didn't have enough money to travel. And so, what I chose to do, the decision that I made, was to approach two individuals in my network that I highly respected, and I asked them to invest in my professional development. I didn't say, "Hey, I need money. Hey, I want to go to this thing." I approached them as if I were the president of Virginia Union University because at that time I had an aspiration of becoming president of my alma mater. And I said, "Well, what would the president of a university do if they wanted to complete a particular project or accomplish a particular goal?" They'll pick up the phone and reach out to people in their network and make an ask. And there's really only two things that a person can tell you if you ask them for something. It's either yes or no. So I have a 50-50 chance of getting a yes. I have a 100% chance of getting a no if I don't ask. And so what I did was I reached out to these two gentlemen. I told them what I was striving to do. I asked them if they would be willing to make an investment in my professional development, and they did, right? And that those funds helped me travel from Richmond, Virginia to St. Louis. It was a 12-hour trip. And that decision literally changed my life and the lives of so many other people because I would not have become the LinkedIn locksmith if I didn't take that trip to St. Louis. There were things that happened after that. There were lives that were touched. There were projects that were put together. There were businesses that were formed, all because I was able to make that trip. I was able to make that decision. I was at a crossroad. I could have allowed fear to stop me from picking up the phone and asking for help. I could have allowed fear to stop me from traveling 12 hours to St. Louis. I could have allowed fear to stop me from moving forward and getting involved in Breathe University, but I didn't. So that crossroad that I was at, I took the right road and lives were touched as a result of that one decision.
That's a remarkable testimonial, and I think it is that one decision, and it's one of those things in life we don't really know what that decision will hold, and it's something I think we can always. It's great to look back on and just kind of remember that we are here for a purpose, and we have, you
Hmm.
know, a reason.
Oh, absolutely. Life is about operating purpose. When you chase purpose, you'll be able to fulfill that purpose. But if you chase other things, then you'll have an emptiness inside. And so I was at a place where I was chasing purpose. I took my eyes off the ball, and now I'm back to chasing purpose.
YB, title of the podcast, Into the Unknown. What are you working on right now?
Yeah, the two biggest things that I'm working on, number one, is my own podcast, right? So my goal is to launch the Collaboration Creates Currency podcast, which is named after my book. It's a movement. And the purpose of the Collaboration Creates Currency movement is to enable people to become productive in life so that they can attract the right people and collaborate so they can create currency. When I think of currency, I'm not just talking about money. That's sometimes the first thing that people think about. Money is actually the lowest part of the rung. It's the lowest part of the totem pole. The top part is trust. So when you understand how to build trust and you build trust in relationships, then everything else will fall into place. Without trust, you have nothing, right? So having being able to build trust, credibility, relationships, ideas, information, communities, all of those things are assets. And when you collaborate the right way, then you're able to attract those resources. You're able to leverage your social capital to build currency. And it's a language, right? So when people hear your name should carry positive weight, and that's because you were honest. You were basically operating in a spirit of integrity, right? You have trust. See, once you have trust, then that will open up the door for so many other things. If you don't have trust, it's going to be very difficult for you to get anything. And people may take a chance on you, but it's a very short leash that they put you on, because there are some people that don't automatically give you 100% trust. You've got to earn every ounce of trust. Now there are people who will start at 100%, but if you do something, you'll never reach 100% again, ever. And so I want to go on this journey to empower people to develop the relationships that will open up doors for new opportunities. So number one, get the podcast up and running. Have folks like yourself on there to share your story about how you are able to build collaborations, but how are you able to be productive? How are you able to have sustainability, right? These are the things that people are looking for, especially those who are just getting started in business. And that's who I want to help. My goal is to help those who are making a transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, from government to entrepreneurship. Right? We're at a time now where folks are being laid off at record numbers, right? And so it's not always a bad thing. Initially, it is, because you're thinking about your livelihood, you're thinking about your income, you're thinking about how you're going to take care of your family, you're thinking about what you're going to do, you're going to lose your home. I was there. Right, I was there. I was laid off in 2012. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I had to trust in purpose and operate with integrity to build those relationships and to collaborate with people. And it opened up doors for me to create currency. And so, we've got the podcast, we've got the book, and then I'm also putting myself in a position to provide premium coaching to individuals who want to increase their social capital.
YB, if people want to learn more about what you do, where can they find you?
Yeah, I live on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn. That's Rob Coach YB Youngblood. I tell people, don't call me Robert. That's like for old man that's in his 90s. So call me Rob. But Rob Coach YB Youngblood, or you can find me at coachyb.net. That's coachyb.net. Now I have a funny story as we wrap up. I was in a line to order some food, and you know how they ask you what's the name for the order, and so I told them YB. And so they end up giving me, my order, and on the receipt they spell it WHYB, right? They thought it was spelled WHYB. No, it's actually the letter Y, the letter B, which is short for my last name, which is Youngblood. So CoachYB.net.
YB, thanks again, man, for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it. It's been cool to see your journey, even since when we first met, continue to unfold.
I appreciate you, man. I'm looking forward to coming out to the Midwest to kick it with you. And hopefully, if you have an opportunity to come to the East Coast, man, we'll get a chance to chop it up.
Take care of it, man. Take easy.
Blessings to you. You do the same. Peace.
Fun episode of Into the Unknown. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen. And if it provides you any value or entertainment, I would love if you shared it with others, liked, subscribed, and really just help the podcast grow. Again, tell a friend, tell a foe, just anyone who might enjoy hearing some stories of people's own journeys and what got them to where they are today. Till next time.